So...
And there they go.
There they go. Yes, they're allowed to have one pre-made save file only, and that is at Walrus Skip because that's softlock potential. Now, if they were to softlock anywhere else in the run, they would be able to save and quit out of it. Tournament rules. The run itself wouldn't be valid on the leaderboards, but in terms of the tournament, it is allowed if you softlocked.
It's important to note that it's only a save file, not a save state, that's allowed.
Yeah. So both of them getting the quick sword, which is using that urchin to get the damage boost. I don't know the official name for that. Some people do.
Sounds like a good name to me.
I just call it an urchin. It looks like that. So, we might as well explain the first bit of tech in the run already. Although, before that, I think I'm going to mention wall clipping. Now, wall clipping is... They're going to be doing it non-stop this run. They're already doing it now, and in some places you won't even see them, but they're going to be doing it. Now, aside from being optimized in movement, wall clipping allows you to do some really weird stuff, like glitches, which we'll see a bit later on.
It definitely saves a lot of time over the course of a run when you're clipping the walls.
Yep.
A lot less movement.
So they're heading up to Mobbin Skip now, and so the first 5 minutes of this game is unfortunately quite RNG heavy. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be trying to get a moblin to give them a damage boost over pit, and this can be RNG because they need the moblin to be facing upwards. So yeah, that's RNG. See if Spicefather gets it first time. Oh no, he wasn't clipped enough.
GreenTunic gets it. Will he get Owl Skip?
I think he's got Owl Skip. Yes.
So Spice gets his Moblin Skip.
So Owl Skip, what GreenTunic did there is it's a frame perfect trick, and Spice getting it as well. It's frame perfect, but you can buffer into that frame, and it allows you to skip the text from the amp. It saves a few seconds.
Both players on their way to everyone's favorite game, Trendy Game.
So, to start the run, I forgot to actually mention their PBs. So, GreenTunic's PB is a 54.58, and Spicefather's is a 57.18. So they're not too far apart. But also remember, these times that are on the leaderboards are done with they probably reset any time they get bad RNG. So race times can vary very much. So we're seeing on GreenTunic's screen and now Spicefather. They're actually stealing the shovel. And they're also going to steal the bow as well. When you go back in, you get killed by the shopkeeper. Now, you'll see GreenTunic actually buying bombs, because that's quicker than stealing it. So, stealing from the shop is actually not a glitch. It's actually intended. In English, your name and save file is changed to thief if you steal from a shop.
And that bow this early in the game proves very useful. It completely destroys a couple of the bosses, makes it a lot easier. And it's kind of hard to grind that many rupees this early in the game. That's why we steal.
It takes a while to grind that many rupees, even after 5 or 6 dungeons.
GreenTunic about to enter D1, a little bit of optimization there. If you clip into the side of the keyhole, you can enter the key from the side. Don't ask how that works.
So, you'll see Spicefather and also GreenTunic killing what seems to be random enemies. And this is because of something that's specific to this category, which is called Piece of Power. Now, Piece of Power is an upgrade that you can get off every 30 enemies. And what it does is that it increases your movement speed, gives your weapon a knockback, but also gives the enemies invincibility frames whilst you're knocking them back. Now, we want it for the movement speed, so we've got a very fine route in this game for Piece of Power, which requires killing certain enemies to get in particular spots. They don't want to be too late because then they lose time by not getting it earlier, but they also don't want to be too early because then they might miss it for a future dungeon.
GreenTunic getting the most broken item in the game, the feather. It allows us to do some really great glitches early in the game, which you will see in about 30 seconds in the super jump.
So do you want to explain super jumps?
Yeah, sure. You can see it right there. You clip yourself into a wall, use a feather to jump, and the way he did it there using the bow and arrow, where you can also use it with a fire rod or the sword, you swing it away from the wall, and the game, I guess it thinks you're jumping off of a cliff? Is that it?
Yeah. It's as a result of you being wall clipped that it thinks you're on a cliff falling off.
And you can do it without a weapon, slightly different. You'll see that later in the run. GreenTunic coming up to the first boss, Moldorm. Gotta be real careful not to get knocked off. If you do, it's a major time loss. But most runners don't have issues with that. So you can also see on Spicefather's screen, you just killed the mini-boss using 2 arrows. A lot quicker than you would with a sword.
So
That is D1.
both of them getting decent D1 times. In fact, GreenTunic's D1 time is exceptional for a race time.
Very nice.
So, we're going to see both runners killing more enemies on the way to Dungeon 2. This is to increment the Piece of Power count even more. It's worth noting that once you get Piece of Power, you will lose it if you exit a dungeon, or if you take 3 hits of damage.
Now, you also lose it when you enter a dungeon, which is why you don't want to get Piece of Power on the overworld. If you get on the overworld, it's typically a reset.
We're going to see something quite linked to this in a second, because they're going to go and rescue Bow Wow. Now, Bow Wow will randomly eat enemies, and obviously this can throw your Piece of Power route out the window sometimes. I've seen runners have bad enough RNG that they get Piece of Power outside of Dungeon 2 because Bow Wow decides to eat 2 flowers instead of 1.
One thing you see on Spicefather's screen, and you just saw it on GreenTunic's as well, is the Guardian Acorn. It is something, I believe it drops every, is it 12 or 15 enemies? It's something you
12.
You don't want to pick that up, because while it does boost your defense, Piece of Power will not drop when you have it. And the runners want Piece of Power more than anything.
However, the Piece of Power kill count will still increment. It just won't drop. And that can be a pain in Dungeon 3, because there's an instance where nearly everyone goes the first half of Dungeon 3 without taking damage. So you manage to get 12 kills consecutively without taking damage. And at that point, it's sometimes your positioning can unfortunately force you to get an acorn. And you'd have to actually lose it, otherwise you'd not get Piece of Power.
You can see on GreenTunic's screen he's going for what's called a flock clip, which he clipped himself into the trees, and using the text box managed to get himself moved over a pixel, and just walk right on past the obstacle.
So Battle giving them both really quick eats. It can be a bit of a troll sometimes and take ages to eat flowers.
And there's GreenTunic's piece of power right where he wanted it. Same for Spicefather. We have got ourselves a close race.
So this piece of power route that everyone knows, well, I guess everyone sort of has it a bit differently. Like Spicefather isn't killing that Stealther cell that GreenTunic did. And everyone's piece of power route is slightly different, but as a whole, it's very, very tight in terms of getting them in exactly the right rooms. So, GreenTunic now going to make quick work of the Dungeon 2 mini-boss.
Another one broken by arrows, but with piece of power, it's much quicker to just kill them with their sword, so that's less menuing. We do spend in this game a lot of time in the menus, so menu optimization is a must. You want to go into it as few times as possible.
I should also mention that each menu costs you 2 seconds, so you want to have as few menus as possible. When you're trying to work out a new strategy, whether it's quicker, you do have to factor in those 2-second menus, especially if you do more than one extra menu, because it really adds up.
One thing I want to bring up while we're here, GreenTunic's getting ready to open the chest with the boss key. You'll notice the players opening the save and quit menu whenever they pick up an item or open a chest. Yes, they're not saving and quitting as that's not allowed, but opening the menu actually saves time because the text box that describes the item you're getting won't show up. It skips it as long as you don't open the menu too early. So you do see that a lot.
Spice got some bad RNG there with Paul's voice.
GreenTunic falling into a pit.
Falling in the pit again.
And this is a boss we are about to severely break. I think the intended route is you have to throw him, is it 3 times and
3 times.
kill him that way. However, you're going to see the players pick up the pot, clip themselves into a wall and throw it while clipped, which destroys it instantly, and then use a combination of bomb and bomb arrows to completely annihilate him in one cycle.
Yeah, this is a quick kill with 2 separate sections of the quick kill. One's the bottle smash, the other's the bomb arrows. Well, the bomb and the bomb arrows. We need to use a bomb arrow on the wall because we don't have enough time to place a second bomb and have it explode.
You'll see bomb arrows used quite a lot in this game. I believe you have to drop them within 4 frames of each other, and an arrow will actually instantly destroy a bomb if it's up against it, or shoot the bomb with the arrow. Pretty neat to watch.
Fun fact, bomb arrows are technically a glitch. Even though, even casual players will know them.
Another fun fact, at this point in the game, you're supposed to be returning Bow Wow to his owner. We don't do that. That takes time. We're speedrunners. So we're going to keep him the rest of the game. And he's going to be both our best friend and our worst enemy.
So for now, he's going to be sort of our worst enemy because he can overeat in this section. And Dungeon 3 piece of power isn't tight, but you want to get Dungeon 3 piece of power sort of late rather than early because you're also trying to get Dungeon 5 piece of power. And
Right, coming up on...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But we can explain Villa Skip.
Yeah. So you see GreenTunic in the pit. He's actually opening up the pause menu, waiting for a specific audio cue of Link falling in the pit. Right there. And then when he comes out of the menu, he buffers down, and he transitions to the next screen, skipping a very, very long side quest.
Now, that... Ooh, Spice getting it first try. Now that can make a big time difference there, because how quick you get it is a bit of... Well, we like to call it the trick that's the most non-RNG trick in the game. Something crazy like that. Some people think it's RNG. It's actually not RNG, but is as good as.
And once again, we're putting in the key from the wrong side of the keyhole. That, again, saves a bunch of time. You'll also notice these players opening their menus quite often when they come into dungeons. That's a good time to choose the items you need for it, but it also skips the text box that introduces you to the dungeon if you do it at the right time. So again, minor optimization.
Yeah, there's gonna be there's lots that we won't even be able to discuss because there's so much going on.
GreenTunic barely dodging that acorn.
Yep, there's so much sort of small optimizations all over the run.
Ooh, piece of power dropping out a little earlier from what I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, he got a bit early.
So we'll have to keep that in mind on his way to Dungeon 5. And hope that doesn't drop early. Coming up now on the Dodongo skip, you'll see this twice in each run. And he got it first try. If you mess that up, it is very easy to soft lock. So you want to be very careful there.
So Dodongo skip, in a race or tournament environment like this, it's pretty scary, to be honest. This is one of those situations where if someone were to soft lock, they would be allowed to save and quit out of it, but they'll have to return to the screen.
Yes, if there are any accidental save and quits, or any deaths in this run, per tournament rules, you have to go back to the screen you were on.
Same with death warps as well.
GreenTunic getting his second, and doing another flock clip, first try.
So, GreenTunic's about 3 enemies ahead of his piece of power, ahead of where he needs to be with his piece of power. So he needs to somehow not kill 3 enemies.
So both players still very close. And nice boss from GreenTunic. Spice heading to it now. I didn't see where Spice's POP dropped, so he might be right on track, or he also might be
his piece of power is as perfect as you can be.
Good. Both players having great bosses.
So piece of power really helps us out there on the second part of that boss. The first part is a bit iffy with piece of power, but the second part is much quicker with it.
GreenTunic not skipping the owl.
We're going to see them both heading towards Walrus Skip now, which is what they have their backup save file for. Because you can soft lock on Walrus Skip. Now, Walrus Skip uses a trick that we've not talked about yet, called bomb triggers. And you see Spice actually managed to get one on his screen there to skip the owl flying in and out. If you drop a bomb within 4 frames of another bomb, things happen. That's the best way we can describe it. We don't know why it works, just things happen.
It basically plays whatever cutscene is on that screen, I think.
Now, the only ways we can actually get bombs within 4 frames of each other, because you can only have one bomb on the screen at a time, is either doing it through a screen transition, or we could do it in a pit or something like that.
Alright, GreenTunic got his. We'll hope that he doesn't soft lock. Spice going for the side method. So if this goes right for both of them, they'll be almost equal. Alright, GreenTunic got his. And you can't tell right now, but GreenTunic's, his controls are fully locked. He can't use his bombs, his feather, his menu, nothing. And Spice also getting his successfully.
Now, there's actually 2 ways of soft locking on Walrus Skip. One of them is because you're locked out of your items. If you leave the screen too early, the Walrus will actually respawn, and there's no cave you can go in to reset your buttons. There's a bush in the way on the left, and there's a bombable one on the north. So you soft lock that way. Also, if you don't get off in time, a bunny comes in and soft locks you. Just like that.
And I hope you enjoyed the review of that mini-boss. You had to pay attention and look very closely to see him because he never appears on screen for us. We're too quick.
Yeah, I like to joke that they copied only 2 of the 3 bosses from Link to the Past. We never see Lamola. And then when people usually reply, "Oh yeah, there's Lamola," and the funny thing is, there's a phase of the final boss which is technically called Lamola.
We don't see him either.
Well, we see him for about a split second, yeah.
Both players heading up to unlock Dungeon 4. It's a bit of a trek to get there, and you don't want to forget that, because if you forget, you just went way out of your way.
There's always someone in a tournament, or every so often in a race, that forgets to open Dungeon 4. It does happen. It even happens to some of the best runners. You just blank, and that's all it takes to forget that you didn't open Dungeon 4.
This is another segment you see GreenTunic's Bow Wow's eating a lot of enemies. That worries me.
I'm pretty certain at this point GreenTunic is not getting Dungeon 5 piece of power.
Now, he might get one late in the dungeon, but if it's too late, then it's useless.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he can probably definitely recover a Dungeon 6 piece of power as a result of that, though.
Very true.
Dungeon 5 piece of power is the best piece of power to get in the game, because it's the longest dungeon. But as for now, we're doing Dungeon 4, and there's not actually that many enemies that we kill in Dungeon 4. Which is why we're not routing a piece of power in Dungeon 4. We're trying to wait till Dungeon 5 to get it.
GreenTunic got his first obstacle skip. That's a good sign. This is a valid run.
So, obstacle skip is something that's just there for swag. It saves you half a second. If you fail it, it loses you 2 seconds. I mean, the risk versus reward isn't really the most favourable.
But you have to go for it. You have to. Everyone's also getting it.
Everyone goes for it. Like, I've seen people try and get it, and get 3rd try obstacle skip in this tournament. And that's actually hilarious when that happens. It's just like, you've lost 6 seconds just with this half-second.
So I'd say right now the players are only at most 10 seconds apart. Only a couple screens. Up and with GreenTunic falling in the water twice, now they're even closer.
Dumb jump room number 1, we call that.
Seriously, this first half of D4 sucks.
Oh my god, Spy, wow. That's something special by Spice. Got it first try, didn't even get hit by the enemy. I've forgotten what the enemy's called. It's the tactile.
Both players are now equal. Heading to the mini-boss in the first appearance by Cue Ball.
This could end up being quite a close race near the end of it. And we saw one of the closest races we've ever seen in this group 2 days ago with White Wolf versus Mighty Myth.
This one has potential. Now you're going to see both players. You got the flippers, and now they're leaving D4. We will return to this later. However, if we complete it right now, you are stuck doing another long side quest once you leave the dungeon. We don't want to do that. If you actually complete Dungeon 6 first, before finishing D4, the queue to do that side quest is already complete, so you don't have to worry about it. So now both players heading to D5, just a short bit away.
I'm actually curious as to if GreenTunic is going to get a piece of power.
We'll see. I'm wondering if it may have dropped on Cue Ball.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That a piece of power could, in theory, drop on a mini-boss. However, the item itself won't actually drop. It will just increment the counter and then turn back over to 1 kill. So, it'll, in theory, drop, but not actually drop. And you'll lose that piece of power.
And into Dungeon 5, I believe one of the longer ones. You're going to see a lot of backtracking in this.
Yeah, this is the longest dungeon in the game.
Oh, GreenTunic got his piece of power.
How did he recover that route?
I don't know. Spicefather's struggling with the Helmasaur. Hasn't gotten this piece of power yet, but he probably will in the next room.
So, Helmasaurs can be really, really trolly in this game. You have to be facing the same way as them to do damage.
Oh no, Spicefather got an acorn, so he has to
Okay,
take a couple hits to lose it.
Spice has to take some hits here. He's probably going to take hits on the Helmasaur room. I think GreenTunic's already taken a hit as well.
He did.
The thing with Piece of Power is that if you take 3 hits, you will lose it. Losing it in this dungeon is incredibly easy. So Spice taking... I think Spice has probably lost his Piece of Power at this point.
Yeah.
He's got 1 hit left until he loses Acorn. But at this point, Piece of Power would have dropped on one of these enemies already.
And if both the Piece of Power and the Acorn are scheduled to drop on the same enemy, I believe the Acorn will drop, Piece of Power will drop on the next available enemy. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, it will only drop on the next available enemy if you didn't pick up that.
I hope you all like this mini-boss, because we see him 4 times in this dungeon. On the first and 4th time, you have to get 3 hits on him while he's down. On the 2nd and 3rd, you only have to get 2 hits, and we use bombs and bomb arrows for it, because they do the job.
Apparently Spice has already lost his Acorn. Well, he definitely has now. But... the thing is, like, the enemies that he killed whilst having Acorn, probably one of them would have dropped Piece of Power. But because he had Acorn, Piece of Power can't drop.
Now you're going to see both players going to get the boss key in this dungeon. Now you're not supposed to get it yet. You're actually supposed to kill all 4 of those mini-bosses to get the dungeon item, which is the hook shot. However, using the speed boots, we're able to skip the hook shot here and just jump over the gap. That way you get this a bit earlier.
So we call this room Dumb Jump 2. GreenTunic basically saying, what dumb jump? You go first try it. Spice,
He's showing us why it's a dumb jump.
yeah, so Spice doesn't have Piece of Power, which is why he's probably having a bit more issues with it. Piece of Power makes this a lot more forgiving. He's got to be careful here, because...
Here we go, he did the bonk, he's good.
yeah, because he has to take off half damage here to get to start the room again. I believe he's probably going to get that Goomba.
Yeah, good
Let's hope
call.
he doesn't die to the... I've done that before. I've gone for that high and died to the Goomba.
I've been afraid of doing that as well. Yeah, if you jump on top of a Goomba, it automatically gives you a heart, so it's an easy, quick heart refill if you're near one.
It's like the most scary thing ever with that Goomba. It's just the chance you time it wrong and die to the Goomba.
GreenTunic getting his hook shot. And I'll be on his way to the boss of the dungeon, which fortunately is not the same as the mini-boss. We're tired of staring at him at this point.
So, GreenTunic has actually edged out quite a decent lead here. This is partially due to the boss key jump, but also partially because of GreenTunic's Piece of Power, which saves anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds in this dungeon.
Indeed. Now, even though he has a decent lead at this point, that doesn't mean he can't easily lose it. There's still a lot of RNG coming up, some more Piece of Power, so things can change.
GreenTunic losing Piece of Power intentionally there, because you remember earlier when I said when you knock back something, it gets immunity frames? Technically, you can knock back this boss. That makes two cycling it near impossible if you're not a Tassels or Axe. So they intentionally lose a Piece of Power just so that they can two-cycle this boss.
GreenTunic getting his 2-cycle.
Just. Because that last hill was almost where he was back in the wall.
Yeah. He's picking up another acorn.
At least
Be careful, not too hard.
at least it's a bit safer on this boss now.
Indeed. A nice little jump
Wow,
there.
that's a pretty good hojo jump.
That was nice.
Like, that was absolutely frame perfect.
I think that's his way of telling us he is not done. Now, GreenTunic heading over to get the D6 key to open it up, so he has to head to the Armos Maze. Good source of arrow refills, also a good source of taking a lot of damage, if you're not careful.
So Spice dispatching the D5 boss in a decent amount of time.
So he's still not terribly behind.
So GreenTunic is heading to one of the sections of the run where Bow Wow is your friend. Now Bow Wow will eat some of these Armos, and every time he eats an Armos, there's an arrow drop. And our bomb and arrow counts are very, very tight in this run. So any extra arrows is so handy. Do you want to explain boot strats?
I'll let you do it, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, so GreenTunic is using a highly optimized method of using the boots to bonk off the wall to avoid the stun and also damage the Armos. Everyone has a different method for that boss. Absolutely everyone.
Indeed, I still use shovel strats. It gets the job done.
I use Feather.
As we said, everyone does it differently.
Yeah, I do it the slow way.
Getting some decent arrow pickups, that'll help him in the coming dungeons.
Now, for newer runners, Armos Maze can be quite hazardous because the Armos do 2.5 hearts of damage if they hit you. People have died in the Armos Maze before due to that. There's also going to be... I'm wondering if Spice is going to go for it. There's a damage boost that GreenTunic opted not to go for there.
Spice dispatching the Armos Knight, a little bit slower. And GreenTunic going for a bomb trigger. See if he gets it. He does not. So, what that was, he shot a bomb arrow at the wall. The short version, he was trying to actually get Bow Wow to eat that cutscene. That way you don't have to watch the whole dungeon coming out of the ground. You can just walk off the screen, go back up, and there it is. You will see that again later on.
So Spice actually had a piece of power drop in the Armos Maze. He didn't pick it up, but at that point it would have actually been quicker to pick it up. Because you'd gain the movement boost up until up until the cave before Dungeon 6. And he's got extremely lucky at getting the ferry off the bomb ferry there.
Indeed. Means he can go for the damage boost up here.
So GreenTunic grabbing the level 2 bracelet, and this basically makes it so the ghost side quest cannot happen anymore. So we're free to do Dungeon 4 after.
Looks like Spice got his cutscene eat.
GreenTunic going for some old-fashioned swag strats. So there's a glitch you can use in this room to give yourself immunity, and GreenTunic did at the end there. But There was a runner in the community a couple years back who always used to do the hook shot from left to right, as sort of a swag thing. So I think GreenTunic paying homage to that. Shouts to Seabass.
You see that little super jump lining him up to do that super jump without having to walk up farther to clip into the wall. Now, for this chest, you have to actually throw a pot into it, open it up, get the key, and now you're going to see another super jump that, if you're not careful, it's very easy to soft lock on. Fortunately, there's a really good visual cue to avoid that. First try.
So there's sort of a window of pixels that you can have there. If you're too high, you'll soft lock. If you're too low, you won't be able to actually do the super jump.
Will we get good RNG on horse heads?
No.
So
He's
we have
throwing them all the way around the room.
So we need them both to land up to open the doors. That was nice and dry. That's pretty bad.
That was horrible. So this game and this category has gone through several different routes over the past few years, with optimizations, new super jumps found, etc. And we seem to go through phases of having horse heads not in the optimal route, and then having them in the optimal route, and we just can't get rid of them for good.
GreenTunic fighting the dungeon boss.
Sort of lingering.
So this boss's facade, you can get 3 hits on him before he even spawns in. He still has a hitbox. Then you only have to get 2 more bomb hits right afterwards, while dodging all these flying tiles, which can easily kill you if you're me or not careful.
Yeah, if you're on half a heart, it's actually rather easy to die on this.
Spicefather getting 4th try horse heads, so that's a little bit of catching up he just did.
Some would say Facade is the second hardest boss in the game, depending on who you ask. Second easiest one.
Now what you'll see the runners do, GreenTunic doing it now, Spicefather doing it shortly, is heading back to D4 so we can clear it and progress to D7. Still anybody's race at this point.
Oh, Spice missing a bomb. Well, yeah, this could go either way, to be honest. The final boss has quite a lot of RNG in, and a race that's still even this close can be decided by the final boss. And by Rooster Skip, which is coming up in about 3 or 4 minutes on GreenTunic's side.
Even Goomba Surf if the runners choose to go for that and have bad RNG.
Oh god. Goomba Surf in a race is disgusting. You're sort of gambling on something that doesn't save all that much time, and you could be there for hours.
So you're going to see GreenTunic doing a super jump here. He's actually going to use the sword to ping off of the P-hat right there and land on the platform below.
Now, there is a timing on this as well. If you do it too early, you won't actually get over the wall. So you need the P-hat to be high enough.
And then, because this dungeon is laid out so fantastic, we can just jump right to the dungeon boss. Hey, would you like to explain anglerfish for us?
No. So, he fires 3 bomb arrows and the anglerfish is dead. That's it.
And then you want to be down there to pick up the heart so you're not trying to hook shot down, which doesn't work.
Yeah, you can't hook shot down, apparently.
Everyone's favorite boss. And that is D4 done for GreenTunic. Spicefather not too far behind.
Anglerfish is actually the hardest boss in the game. Did you know that when he actually attacks, you probably never seen him attack. But when he does, he makes sort of tiles fall down from the ceiling.
I had no idea.
They do 1.5 hearts of damage.
And as Carbone said, GreenTunic is heading towards probably the most difficult part of this run, which is Rooster Skip. Still about a minute and a half till we get there.
When people think of speedruns they've seen of this game before, but they haven't seen that many, the one thing they'll always remember is Rooster Skip. It's sort of the iconic skip in this game. And it's 2 consecutive frame-perfect jumps. It can be buffered now, there's a new method. It used to not be able to be buffered. And Bow Wow's position can give you some grief if he decides to not be nice and stay out of the way.
And unfortunately, if you fail Rooster Skip, you fall into a pit, and you don't just spawn at the entrance to the room, you actually spawn at the bottom of a waterfall and have to spend about 30 seconds to get back. GreenTunic getting his second obstacle skip. Still a valid run.
So, Rooster Skip in the current route is effectively required because we use bomb triggers, so we never get the ocarina. There is not really any alternative in the current run. Otherwise, I would say it's high risk, high reward. But at this point, you have to do it. It is high risk, and there's no reward. So Bow Wow giving GreenTunic some that's some headache there.
But he's still
managed
going.
To somehow survive, yeah.
Oh, and he finally fell. Wow. And just like that, these runners are less than 30 seconds apart.
And he saved it. He saved it on the first one and then couldn't get the second one.
That's the kind of situation you wonder, should you keep trying to save it, or just fall now rather than falling later?
There are buffer methods for this to make this much more consistent. But if you're doing it unbuffered, it's frame perfect, and GreenTunic is doing it unbuffered. Okay, now he's
here as well.
So they're neck and neck now.
Spicefather doing buffered, taking it a bit safe. Spicefather gets this. They really are neck and neck. Nice. We have ourselves a race.
Now, what GreenTunic did there is he took a risk doing it unbuffered at first, and as a result, that's what's cost him his lead here. While Spicefather just went safe straight from the start, and it's really sort of benefited him. He's still behind maybe 10 or so seconds, but he's saved a lot of time.
With both players heading to Dungeon 7, where once again we're going to go for a cutscene with Bow Wow. I think effectively making Bow Wow the strongest character in any Zelda game. Because I don't know of anyone else that can need a cutscene.
He's just that hungry. You have to wonder, does his owner even feed him?
Maybe he's just got a big stomach.
I mean,
he doesn't get any bigger once he eats it.
I mean, look at the size of him.
Nice GreenTunic getting it.
How is he big enough to eat a cutscene?
And fun fact, those cutscene needs do actually increment your piece of power count. So they are,
and they can drop piece of power.
Spicefather not getting the cutscene eat, so that's gonna set him back a bit more. They're going to see a very, very broken Dungeon 7 using bomb triggers. Normally, you're going to grab a big ball, throw it at these pillars to destroy it. But no, we don't do that. We just use bombs. There's 2 different methods of doing this. GreenTunic choosing to do the pit method.
If the only experience of this game is that you've played it casually, and you remember Dungeon 7, and then you see a speedrun of this, it doesn't look like the same dungeon. You're just like, what on earth are they doing to my Dungeon 7?
Spicefather doing the transitional method, so you're getting to see both of them. And GreenTunic struggling with a naked super jump there, and now they're back on the same screen as a result.
And Spice getting it a lot quicker as well.
Indeed. Wow, he can't get much closer.
Wow, he's definitely gaining.
So what you saw GreenTunic there doing a naked super jump, I mentioned earlier there was 2 ways of doing it. That one is done without any sort of weapon, and as a result it's done differently, where you have to have your back to the wall, jump, and then go forward. In my opinion, it's much more difficult.
Yeah, it's more position-based than anything, that one.
GreenTunic not going for Goomba Surf. See if Spice goes for it, I think so.
It looked like GreenTunic was going to go for it if it was first try, but it wasn't first try, so he went to do the other method, which is the P-Hat Bonk Super Jump. So
Spice got it! Wow!
Wow, that basically equates to exactly the time that GreenTunic took to go around a long way.
Good call, not giving up on that. So now we're going to completely break this boss, again, using bombs. Who'd have thought? As casually, this boss is a huge pain.
In the speedrun, this boss is a huge pain.
Speak for yourself.
So, the timing on these bombs can be quite difficult to new runners and some select few experienced runners as well.
Wow. Oh, and he misses the hook shot!
I've never seen someone miss the hook shot. You can actually hook shot a heart whilst it's falling, and slightly quicker because you're near the bottom of the screen.
These runners are 1 second apart.
This is going to be close.
This is going to come down to yes, I agree. V8 coming up. I don't think there's really much RNG there. You just have to actually nail the tricks.
Hothead can make a difference. If one of them knows how to one cycle Hothead and the other doesn't, that can make a few seconds difference.
You saw the runners skipping that pit there using a save and quit menu. If you fall into that pit, you have to go around quite a long detour, as I've learned in every run I've ever done.
Yeah, it's not a pit you ever want to fall down.
So hey, y'all remember that girl from the beginning of the game? What's her name? Zelda, I think? Well, here she is. Oh, Marin, I knew it. We're not quite sure how she got here. We're supposed to rescue her, but we're speedrunners. That takes time. Bye, Marin.
We're not sure how she got there.
Now they are dead even.
So
Spice now pulling ahead.
We just denied. GreenTunic, interestingly, having Sword on B as well. So
sounds like a pro strat.
Going to be saving some time. So if you were to get the Marin cutscene there by touching Marin, it's about 50 seconds lost. It is a long cutscene, and it's not a cutscene that Bow can eat, unfortunately.
Right, coming up on Flame Skip, at this point you're supposed to have the Mirror Shield, but again, we're speedrunners, we skip that, and using the boots and clipping into the wall, still take a hit, which is 2.5 hearts, but you don't die. Doing a bomb trigger now to open up D8. They struggled a little bit. Still struggling.
I have to say, it sucks to see someone have a bad Rooster Skip, but GreenTunic failing that one Rooster Skip has brought this back into being a decent race.
Both players in D8 now.
So another naked super jump by Spice there.
And fun fact, you can push that block from the side. Why? I don't know, but it works.
I always find myself, when commentating Dungeon 8, trying to find something to say. Because Dungeon 8 it as a speedrun isn't that spectacular. It's basically knowing there's a bomb wall there, super jumping, and yeah.
Dodging those flames right there. Coming up on Blano. No Blano skip allowed. That is now considered out of bounds. And you don't want to get punched by this guy, because if he hits you at the wrong time, you're sent back to the beginning of the dungeon. GreenTunic having no issues.
I have to say, it always strikes me how quick this dungeon is compared to how quick it is casually. Casually, it's such a long dungeon, yet in the speedrun, 2 super jumps completely break it.
Indeed. Now, both players with the fire rod going to make their way over to get the boss key and then straight to the boss.
They've got to get through that pit room first. Which can be a
GreenTunic
challenge.
struggling with the ladder. Now, if you find yourself missing Dungeon 4, don't worry. We've got your back. It's the return of Cue Ball. GreenTunic having no issues, and now on to every speedrunner's favorite room in the game.
Some runners have nightmares about this room.
So there's many different ways of doing this. Your goal is to fill up all the black tiles. You're controlling that little thing with the D-pad. The only gimmick is you want to be as close to the right side as possible to get the the key as quick as you can once it's done.
And usually, people jumping towards the chair sort of put them off actually doing this trick properly. Well, doing this room properly, and they tend to fail, and if you fail, it loses you quite a decent amount of time.
Now, what you just saw on GreenTunic's screen is what we call a Jesus jump. If you pause on the last frame when those splash particles appear, and then buffer a jump coming out of that menu, you actually clip into the wall, which allows us to do that super jump they just did. Now fighting a hothead, everyone's probably worst boss in this game.
So his I've heard some people say his health is completely RNG. I want to agree with that. If we just don't know how his health works. What we do know now is that Phase 2, once he breaks up, if he actually doesn't take any hits if he's not started falling yet. So what GreenTunic did there that Spice didn't, is GreenTunic waited for a bit. Well, Spice didn't. Neither of them got away.
Wow.
Ban both of them.
For shame. That guy's run over.
So we're not even going to discuss that graphical glitch
No.
because it didn't happen.
So the runner's only about 8 seconds apart, and heading into the final boss where there's a lot of RNG, they're basically equal at this point. And this could completely change over Aghanim and Deathful.
So, well, first of all, there's a bomb trigger that we're going to do before entering the egg, which allows us, with all the instruments, to not have the ocarina, not need the song, and yeah, like, bomb triggers just break everything. Do you want to explain all of the final boss?
Oh gosh.
Because it takes a while to explain all of the RNG.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do my best to explain it now. You got 6 phases. The first one is a blob. Actually, you might want to explain the quick kill on that, because I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, so first of all, on the blob, you've got a bomb trigger to skip the text. That is, well, I want to say that's sort of RNG to get. And then there's a quick kill, which you have to stand in the correct pixel. It's RNG whether that actually does 1 hit or 3 hits. You need 3 hits on the blob to kill him. Then there's Aghanim.
Hit RNG portion number 1. Well, technically number 2.
So Aghanim, you have to hit him with 4 yellow balls. Now the first 2 balls he fires are both confirmed to be yellow. Now, the second 2, well, the last 2, can be blue or yellow, and it's a 50-50 chance. Unlike A Link to the Past, there is no cap. You can get blue balls for days.
Gonna interrupt you for just a second. You see both players going through the maze. Now, if you never read the book, it tells you the direction on where to go. It's always the same. Left, left, up. Right, right, up. Left, up. So we know already where we're going. That'll never change. GreenTunic getting the tech skip.
I'll note. And Spice not getting it.
Oh, that's got to put him farther behind.
If we had Spice's audio, we'd hear music. So GreenTunic getting the quick kill straight away there. So that's going to save him a lot of time, because that is RNG. Spice, think he's on the right pixel? He might not be, though. I don't know.
We get any blue balls.
So Spice getting the quick kill on the blob.
Oh, there's a blue ball.
One for GreenTunic.
So that's 8 seconds gone.
Yeah, each blue ball is 8 seconds, and the most we've ever seen is 17. So GreenTunic only getting 1 blue ball. That's good for a race, honestly.
So, say hello to Dungeon 1 Moldorm. GreenTunic getting quick kill on that.
Moldorm.
Yep. Alright, and Spicefather hitting a Moldorm as well. We'll see if he gets a quick kill.
Spice didn't get any blue balls.
And that was the Nightmare of Ganon. Say goodbye to Ganon. That was the land mullet. He never got to see. Never even got to see that one. And now we're on the death of the last part of the boss, and also more RNG. Need to hit his eye 16 times with arrows. However, when he opens his eye is RNG. And Spicefather on this phase as well, so they're pretty much equal.
Looks like GreenTunic might have this, unless he has some atrocious RNG.
It's coming down to the RNG.
He's not having the best of RNG, but he needs only 1 more eye open. While Spice is on his first eye open.
GG GreenTunic.
So GreenTunic's got it, yeah. But again, another close race in this group.
That was a good one. And there's Spice. Only about 10-12 seconds behind.
Considering how much time Spice made up on GreenTunic, like he was probably half a minute down at one point, and he's managed to claw this back. It wasn't just the failed rooster skip, but he definitely did save quite a bit more time. So we go by SRL timing. So GreenTunic ended with a 57 flat, and Spice with a 57-10. So 10 seconds in it. That's incredibly close.
That might be a Spice PB, actually. It is by 9 seconds.
It is, yes.
So GG to him. Congratulations. Congratulations to both runners on an amazing race.
So I'm quickly going to check how long we've got for interviews. Okay, yeah, we've got time for interviews.
Awesome. GreenTunic won't be able to come in.
So, yeah, GreenTunic's not able to do an interview. Hopefully Spice can. I don't know if we'll have to drag him in. I don't have rights to drag people in, I don't think.
Is that him in the waiting room?
Yeah. These guys might mute. There
we go.
Hey Spice, GG on the race, and congrats on the PB.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I don't know if you realize this, that race was close almost the entire way.
Yeah, I was watching the chat a bit, and I kept seeing people talking about us being close, and then when I fucked up, they were like, oh, not close anymore.
Oh, it still ended up very close, even with the mistakes. I think GreenTunic's failed rooster skip really helped you out there.
Oh, that's
What
too
was you
bad.
going for Goomba Surf? Whereas he did not.
I gotta do it. It's so cool. You can't not do it.
And you
The
both
funny
ended
thing
up
is-
at that point pretty much the exact same time going into that boss, and you actually came out ahead.
You were neck and neck before Goomba Surf and neck after Goomba Surf as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely have to watch the VOD then. I'm glad for myself being able to PB and even be that close to GT when he's like, I think his PB is about 3 minutes ahead of mine. But yeah, good race to GreenTunic. Damn close one.
Indeed, an amazing watch. I might have to rewatch that one.
So I'm gonna look at the group now. So GreenTunic automatically advances now. He can't be knocked out. Now, Spice, have you played Mighty Mouth?
Yeah, I raced Mighty last Thursday, I think,
Okay,
and I won
then
that one.
it looks as though, unless you lose against White Wolfos, it looks as though you're through.
Yeah, I have to admit, going into the tournament, I wasn't expecting to make it to the second round, so I guess that'll be nice. If I win, of course.
Well, the thing is, like, who are you against next? You're against White Wolfos.
Yeah.
Now, for White Wolfos to knock you out, I think she has to beat the time you set today and win.
Well, best of luck to her.
But yeah, that was an incredibly close race.
Yeah,
Probably second closest to the tournament, I believe.
yeah, I think Wolfos and Mighty Mouth were, what, 6 seconds apart the other night?
Yeah, that race was crazy. There's not a point in that race where they were more than 10 seconds apart. During this race, there was a point before Rooster Skip where you had dropped back about half a minute, and then GreenTunic got trolled super hard by Bow Wow, and then
Yeah.
he fell.
Yeah, I saw in chat people cussing out Bow Wow around when I got there, and I figured, like, it didn't happen to me, so it must have happened to him.
So the point at where you lost a lot of time on GreenTunic was Dungeon 5,
Oh, no.
and
No, it's... No.
what happened with your piece of power?
It... I don't know. It either dropped on Cue Ball, or it dropped on the one Helmsaur that I killed between getting Acorn and losing Acorn. I
Because
have no idea.
it looked as if GreenTunic was more marginal on piece of power than you were, Dungeon 5.
Yeah, like, I really thought I was on good pace, because Bow Wow didn't seem to be eating too much on the way to D4, but I don't know. I'm no good at counting, I guess. And then the dump jump too really didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the worst I've done in a long time on that. So I'll have to practice that before next race.
We're actually wondering whether you're going to die on the Goomba after.
No, I guess I whatever plan I decide to just like line up proper and really concentrate on it and make sure I don't die. But
Well,
I did
you-
safety heart on the way back, yeah.
Yeah, that Goomba can be quite scary sometimes when you go for the safety heart and you're on half a heart, because occasionally people mess that up. And they're going for the heart, they take the half heart of damage and die to the Goomba.
Yeah, I saw Tompa thought I was gonna die to it, but
Yeah,
wrong.
he did.
I'm really glad I didn't die to it. Because, I mean, it's
I
only
think
9
we are
seconds,
as
but
well.
still a PB. Yeah, like, I think overall I had pretty good RNG from everything. I had first, like, perfect Villa Skip, 4th try Horse Heads, and Deathful wasn't too bad either. All in all, the run was nice to me, I was just the one who let it down.
Yeah, you had some decent RNG there. I sort of feel Death was a little slow though. He could have opened up a bit quicker.
Yeah. Oh, also I messed up Blob. which I think would have been. I probably would have won if I'd gotten that.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like, super tight race, super fun. And congratulations to GT moving on to the next round.
So I don't think there's anything after this race, by the looks of the schedule. For now, at least.
Let's see. Nope.
So
Nothing until later tonight when there's another race.
is there another LADX race? Oh yes, that's
Right.
that's
Yeah, 9 p.m.
let me check. That's Riddler and Pika Pals. That's in
That will
That's
be
in
over
4
on,
hours.
and that will be over on Speed Gaming too. Be sure to be there.
Well, I guess we'll sign off for now then.
Indeed, definitely a great watch. Thank you very much, GreenTunic and spicefather on the amazing race. Very, very close one of the closest to the tournament. Hope
Do you have
everybody
any-
enjoyed?
Do you have anything final to say, Space?
Space, yeah. Yeah, just GG again to GreenTunic, and thanks to you guys for commentating.
Thank you.
So, shouts to the runners, and thank you for watching. I guess we'll head off now.